The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not reflect the views of the streaming platforms, public access channels, the KittyRose lifestyle, or the program underwriters.
Tim's on my feet, stomping out the negativity. Everybody not a friend of me. Spread the love, still I move deliberately. Bully face on, but the smile be heavenly. Brooklyn girls, so they love the energy. Love sincerity, so I take the liberty to take them on a journey lyrically. Through hallways and alleys, dark days
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Next Chapter, where we discuss shades of gray. I am your host, Minister Cat, aka KittyRose, and today is our second segment or session in our series of Parenting Now conversations. So today's topic is parenting scenarios that I wanted to talk about. So this week's topic of the week, or this session or segment, is going to be titled Parenting Scenarios Now of Our Adult Children. But I couldn't have this conversation by myself because you guys have been getting me enough. I think we needed to have some feedback and some other energy outside of myself. And I wanted to bring you guys a dad. Yes, a dad, a male perspective, a male point of view. And one, I wanted to bring in a dad because we hear so much negativity about dads not being involved, or there's no good fathers out there. But I'm here to tell you that that is not true. Even though I did have a couple of difficulties finding some dads, but it wasn't really difficulties in finding dads. It was finding dads that had children that was my age of my children that could relate to the conversations that I wanted to have. So who did I bring? Guess who I brought? Now, if you guys have been following me for a while, I came into this industry, I think around 2016. And when I came into the industry, I came in with a fellow content creator, producer, journalist named Michael Astor. And Michael Astor and I immediately had a kinship and connection. I think two reasons. One, we were the oldest ones in the room. And second, because we were both parents. So that connected us in a way that 2024, we are now friends who actually still produce and try to figure out what we're doing in this broadcasting world. But our main focus and our main livelihood since we've met each other definitely has been our children. So he was the perfect person. His availability allowed him to also come down and have this conversation with me today. So who is Michael Astor? Before I introduce you to him, let me tell you just a tad bit about him. So he is a multimedia storyteller and content creator whose work has appeared in the New York Times, the Associated Press, and other media outlets. Currently, he manages the social media accounts for Dorothy Loves New York and Bigger Than by Squat. You can follow both of those and see actually how and what he's managing, because he's no longer managing his own projects. So outside of what we're going to be talking about today, which is parenting now scenarios with adult children. So let's give a round of applause and welcome one of my dear friends, content creator, co-community access producer, Michael Astor. Yay!
Thank you. Glad to be here. Yeah.
One of the things I brought up in the introduction in what you sent me was a multimedia storyteller. Mm-hmm. But in my opinion, and one of the reasons why I brought you here is because I think one of the best jobs that I've witnessed that you've done, of course I don't know everything because I ain't in your house, but from what I've seen and from our conversations, I think the best job you've done so far since I've met you is Sophia and Nick.
Well, you might be right. Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
I remember I met Sophia on one of our first days shooting. You know what I'm saying? We was outside in the cold shooting one of the
That was
dining
the
to
coldest
diplomats.
day, yeah.
And Sophia was right there with us. But we've gotten a chance to share some stories about what we've been going through as single parents who co-parent with parents that we're not necessarily fond of or friends with, and the challenges that come with that. Us being full-time parents in that co-parenting stage, we've talked about that. We've talked about different things that we disagree with. When it comes to parenting children, you kind of think I'm a little too hard. I might think you're a little too lenient, you know. But what I also find to be our common ground is that we're very loving and protective. And I think that we parent differently than what we are accustomed to. We actually communicate and talk to our children, you know. And I don't know if you had a lot of that growing up with your parents, but I know I didn't. You know, my mother was, you know, Kingdom Hall, schoolwork, going out in field service. That was pretty much it. I don't ever remember having any like intimate or growth conversations. And I was in the house up until 15, but I don't remember having, what do you want to do with your life type of conversations.
Oh, I don't have that kind of conversation with my kids ever.
Okay.
I just talk. I think a lot of people, a lot of parents just don't get it, that just being there and being, you know, and treating them like a person and talking to them like a person is, you have a relationship. And then it's not like a thing like, oh, Dad makes rules I have to break. It's like, oh, Dad would be upset if I did this, because they know that. But it's not like I'm laying down the law or anything.
Okay.
But I'm not a softie either. I mean, it's a benevolent dictatorship. I'm nice.
Okay.
I'm nice, but it's you know.
It is not a democracy.
Yeah, yeah, no,
Okay.
it's not a democracy.
Okay.
So,
Do they? But who's living with you now?
Sophia, well, when she's not at college, she's
Okay.
back. But
Okay.
Nick moved out on his own,
Okay.
and you know, that was nothing. I never expected that. You know, because Nick is disabled.
Right.
A lot of people in TV land don't know that. So he can't dress himself. He can't go to the bathroom by himself, all that stuff. So I thought I was going to have to be there for life, you know, and I was prepared for that. So when he moved out, I was like, whoa. Yeah, I got to change my plans, you know what I mean? And Sophia, she's still at school. She's still at school, so she comes back and stays with me in the summer and on the breaks and stuff. But it was, I remember the day, because they both went to the same school, and there was one year they overlapped. So I dropped them off, and I came back, I looked at myself in the mirror, and I was like, wow. Like, what am I, yeah, exactly. Who am I? What am I going to do now, you know?
Because how old are your children?
21 and 25.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I got some scenarios that I wanted to bring to the surface and talk about. And I wanted to ask you your opinion on some of them because I thought they were, you know, interesting. So the first scenario is, because someone brought this to my attention and I didn't really think this was any issue, but okay, as some parents, because Sophia's home sometimes during the break and during the holidays. So when she cooks, does she automatically cook for you?
Lately, not initially, but, well, you know, the thing was like, I got divorced just before COVID, and Sophia and I moved in together to this apartment, and she came at me and she was like, you don't cook and you don't clean like Mom. And I was like, no, so you know.
Okay.
So, but she got into it, and she started to cook and clean and stuff like that, and we negotiate sometimes, you know, stuff, but she's been more, you know, cooking. So right now what we're doing is I try to cook one meal a week, and she tried to cook meal, and we have some leftovers so that we could, you know, string it along.
So I was going to ask you, so then when you cook, do you automatically cook then for her?
Generally, yeah.
Okay, because I don't anymore. I've been on my own for 3 years now. So yes, they come home during the breaks and the holidays, but Isha now kind of like, she doesn't cook for herself, but we make small portions. So when she comes, she's been buying like those package meals that you make that's really only for 2 people anyway. And most nights her boyfriend is over. So most nights she ends up cooking, she's cooking for the both of them. But when the scenario was brought to my attention, the parent was appalled. The parent was like, how does she come home and cook and don't cook for you? And I was like, but I don't cook for her. Now, I do at times, but is it like on my main frame, like every day when I cook? Nah, I don't even make breakfast for her.
Well, what she does bothers me about is I don't make lunch. I don't think about lunch. I just grab something in the fridge and stuff
Okay.
something in my face or go and grab something. And she's like, "What are we having for lunch?" And I'm like, "Oh, please don't make that." Like, I don't know, whatever you want, So we have a little bit, of that kind of dynamic.
When do you stop paying bills for your adult children?
When they start paying them for themselves.
So currently, my kids pay mostly all their bills,
Mm-hmm.
but I still pay their cell phone bill.
Yeah, I don't think you ever get away from, once you got your kids on your plan, you never get them off. It's just not happening.
Is that what it is?
I've
the family plan?
I've talked around other people, yeah. And I looked at it once because Nick gets benefits and he could pay for that. And it was like, it would have cost him like a bunch and mine wouldn't have gone down that much. And I was like, so I'm going to make him pay $50 so I lose $10 or $15 on the
okay.
plan. It just seems stupid.
Okay, so that means you're still paying their
Yeah,
cell phone.
yeah.
Do you pay, so since Nick is still in school, but works also?
No, Nick is working. He's graduated.
So he's working, graduated, but you still paid the cell phone
Yeah.
because of the plan. Is
Yeah.
that the only thing you're paying for Nick?
As far as I could tell,
As
yeah.
far as you can, and
Yeah.
then Sophia's still in school.
Yeah.
So do you still, so she's not really a fully,
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So
Okay.
I still pay a bunch of stuff for her, and and I help her out with her food at school and stuff
Okay.
like that.
Okay.
But she works a lot. She
that's the thing. I find that these kids, not that I didn't work a lot at that age, but I also was a parent, so I feel like it was different, but though their work ethic is crazy.
Oh yeah.
They work a lot.
Oh yeah.
They make me tired with my
Yeah,
listen, they
no, I know. And Sophia's been like, she'll work 3 jobs, and then she went off to Europe. She was going to Brazil, but then she got this internship, so she's staying. But she saves money for trips and all sorts of stuff.
Isha went to Europe for spring break.
Mm-hmm.
She's getting ready to go to DR to, wait, my kids don't watch this show, surprise her boyfriend for his birthday.
Oh, you let the cat out of the bag.
And then she's going away for her 21st to Vegas. Like, girl, bye. But it brings tears to my eyes. I'm so proud that they are doing that they are living. My son now is going to Argentina next week with his girlfriend, who's taking the bar, I think tomorrow. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
So
good
it's
luck,
like,
yeah.
they are doing a thing. Okay, this is a big one. Sex in the home.
Yeah, no problem. No, because don't be, it's like the other day, because...
So wait. So you're living with Sophia.
Yeah.
Sophia comes home. She's dating.
Yeah.
And you'll let her at 21 have an overnight guest.
Oh, I did when she was like 16, 17. Yeah, because
Okay.
there's a couple of reasons. One is, like, if you don't let them do it at the home, they'll be doing it in crazy places. I used to have a girlfriend and we'd do it up on the roof, and then one day we got caught by the maintenance bench and stuff. So it's better not to be doing that, right? Because they're
Okay.
going to do it anyway, so
Right.
so it's okay.
So then, do you have sex at home when they're home?
I have had sex at home, but my lady friends tend to be a little bit shy about it. Like this,
I'm too loud
a
to have
woman,
sex
I'm
with
seeing now. She just doesn't. She's like no, like but.
So has anyone ever bumped into each other in the crossing middle of the night? Because that's what that's why. That's not
Well,
the
like
main
she's got
reason, but that's
she's
one of
got
the
a boyfriend.
reasons.
She's got a
Okay.
steady boyfriend.
Okay.
And so I know him, So
Right.
like if I see, see him at night, it's not like a shock or anything.
Okay.
But I had to tell her. I said, she was getting all, ooh, like that I was having sex, and I was like, honey, I'm a sexual being. You're a sexual being. I don't go, oh, you and your boyfriend, ooh, so please.
I do that.
Okay, but I'm like, please don't do that with me,
Right.
It's like, have that.
Because I think for them, and I know for me, it was like, yes, we all know we're active, but I don't want them having the idea or hearing their mother, and I definitely don't want to hear my sons banging, and I don't want to hear my daughter.
Well, I don't want to let the cat out of the bag here, but they're quiet, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
So, the fourth one requires a video. So the fourth one was, why should you consider an apology at times? I never feel like I'm wrong to apologize about anything. But let's take a look at this video and then get some thoughts about it. Okay.
Responses. Powerful response number 2. Consider an apology. I know. This is a hard thing to do, but here's the thing. It doesn't mean that you're wrong. It probably means that you're humble and open, and that is going to open up the door for a better interaction with your disrespectful young adult. Apologies can be a powerful way of putting yourself in position to have a different conversation. You'll know that this is something that you probably should consider if you're picking up on some anger or resentment from your young adult. Just be open to the possibility that something that you've done, whether intentionally or unintentionally, has hurt them in some way, has offended them. It doesn't mean that you intended that. It just means that you're open to the correction. Does that make sense? So you're not admitting guilt or that you're at fault. It just means be open to an apology and own it. It has to be something that you can actually get behind, okay? Son, I'm really sorry that I said some things that hurt your feelings. Another form of an apology could be asking for forgiveness. I've used this strategically in high conflict situations where I wasn't even a party to the whole thing. I was there as a professional consultant. And I said, will you please forgive me for whatever it is, okay? This has a way of disarming people, bringing down the defenses, and opening up some of the possibilities for where we can go from here. Powerful response number 2.
So I know you had trouble hearing the video a little bit, but the topic was, or the title of this video was, when your grown child is disrespectful. Try 3 powerful responses. And that's not really our case. You know, we don't have disrespectful children, adult children, but I know that recently I had to learn that the way that we communicate with our adult children is what is really what's key. And that is our tone and how we approach them, and not still talking to them in a way that, you know, they're 15, 16, 17, but actually young adults, 21 and 25 years old. So I know that the other day I was having a conversation with Rose, and I was saying to her, and I wasn't trying to belittle the situation, but I was saying that, you know, I wish that, sidebar, I'll use Sophia as an example. And not to use her as an example, but Sophia right now is interning. Well, Sophia chose a different life. She chose to stay in media, well, not stay, go into media and broadcast. Maybe follow a little after, you know, you, because of what you also introduced to her. I introduced my business and my livelihood, both my husband and me, to our children. They are not interested at all in anything creative. But in school, I wish that she had did more. You know, I wish that she had joined more clubs, or, you know, that she applied more for scholarships or did more papers. I just wish that she stood out more, right? So she took it the wrong way. She took it like, well, you guys didn't put me in positions to be around that. You know, I had poor, broke ass parents. You know what I mean? Like, you talking about you wish I did more. I wish y'all would have done more.
Because she threw it back at you.
Right.
Smart kid.
Yes, but I needed her to receive what I was saying. I wasn't saying that I was disappointed. I was just saying what my aspirations were, which is not even valid or not valid, just a thought I was having. But because I saw how tense she was getting, I apologized for maybe the way that I was saying it to her because she wasn't able to receive it. So in that sense, do you feel like apologies help in the way that we communicate with our children? Because the video was saying to even be intentional when you come with your apologies. Do we feel like our children are entitled to apologies from us as the parent figure?
I don't really think I've been in a... I can't think of anything that I needed to apologize for. I mean, Sophia gives me shit about... I don't know how to say that.
I'm a late night show.
About... I got rid of the cable and she didn't get Disney Channel, and that she's never forgiven me for that. But, you know, it builds character, you know. You gotta figure out how to get a hookup or something.
Okay. On that note, let's go to our first break of the evening.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. it always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
So we're back, and we're still talking with Michael Astor, a fellow parent going through parenting adult children just like I am. And I'm loving the conversations we're having right now, but I feel like I'm doing more of the talking, which is most of the time the problem. So we're gonna let him talk some more with this next scenario that I have about enabling our adult children. So you talked about we pay their bills until they're able to pay their own. I know a mother who is still trying to financially help her 52-year-old son.
Mm-hmm.
And she had like this family meeting with her son and his children, his adult children. And he wanted to, I guess, apply for a new apartment he was trying to get in. And at the moment, his credit is not allowing him to do so. So it was brought to the children's attention to help with this process. Could y'all put your name down on the lease so he could get this apartment? And the adult children said no, because they have seen a pattern of irresponsibility with the person that they love and adore and takes care of them.
Mm-hmm.
Not a deadbeat dad.
Mm-hmm.
But they've seen a pattern their whole life of irresponsibility with money.
Mm-hmm.
So they was like, no.
Mm-hmm.
But the mother was like, what do you mean? This is your father.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to worry about it. I'll make sure he takes care of the rent. If he doesn't, I'll pay it. You know I got it. So.
Were they together or were they separated? The mother, and the father, and the father.
The mother of the father?
Yeah.
The mother of the father.
Oh, the mother of the
Yes.
father. Of the mother.
Who's 80 and 52-year-old son.
Mm-hmm.
Who is still trying to figure out how to financially support her 52-year-old son. So my question that I pose to you is, do we enable our adult children?
You know, this is a funny thing because I know I have some friends who are having problems getting their kids to get out into the world. They call it launching. You know, their children haven't launched. And I'm like, you just let them launch themselves, you know.
Okay.
I think I was having a lot of money difficulties around the time that they started to go to college and high school. So they just sort of got it in their head that like if I'm gonna
Go to
want
school.
money, I gotta work.
Mm-hmm.
So I never told them go get a job. My dad screamed at me when I was growing up, go get a job, go get a job. And then when I got a job, he said, well, that's a shitty job. You should get a better job. I was like, you know, it didn't help. So I just let them, and they got the jobs that they could, and they're doing okay, you know. And I never really pressured them in that area.
Well, I have a video.
Mm-hmm.
Let's check it out.
Okay.
Let's see what the video gives us.
Were just outrageous that you had to say about how you interact with him. George, these are quotes. I'm afraid to answer the phone when he calls. I know he's going to ask for something, and I feel guilty if I say no. If I tell him no, I get upset after I hang up because I feel like I can't help him. It's easier to just give in. Every time he gets arrested, I bail him out. I call everybody I know and find and pay for a lawyer because I know he didn't do whatever he did in a malicious state. He didn't mean it. We continue to support him financially. We pay for everything, rent, food, clothes, everything. We bought him a house, $98,000 because we didn't want him in ours. He goes to restaurants, orders food, and has no money to pay the bill. The restaurant calls us, and we pay with our credit card. Then we talk to Pat. I remember going out at 2:30, 3 a.m. in my pajamas to pick him up at bars so he wouldn't have to walk home. We got him an apartment because we didn't want him living with us anymore. We rented him a U-Haul for him and his then girlfriend to move their things into the house we bought him. Rich was raging in the family home. George wanted to call the police, but I didn't because I didn't want the police to hurt or taser him. I talked George out of calling the police. To stop the free-flowing cash, I started ordering food. He didn't even go pick it up. They would deliver it to him. Yeah. When we die, who is going to pay for him? I keep giving him money because I fear him becoming homeless and winding up dead. Then I will feel responsible.
I'm the type of person, Dr. Phil, I don't care about myself much. But what actually bothers me is that I know the rich didn't get any better.
You say I don't care much for myself, like that's some kind of virtue? I mean, do you think that's like a martyr here? We don't need a martyr, we need a father.
I know.
Look, you can either have $175,000 in your pocket and he's an alcoholic and an addict, or you can not have $175,000 in your pocket and he's an alcoholic and an addict. All you've done, you just might as well take that money and put it in a paper shredder. The only thing you've done is make it easier for him to be self-destructive. In the old saying, necessity is the mother of invention. He has no necessity to get better. He has no reason to get better. He can always pick up the phone and call you guys, and you pay off like a slot machine, and he knows it.
The past like 4 or so months, you haven't really helped too much. And when you do, it's like when I talk to the conversation, it's like I dread it, and then it's like, yeah, I feel worse.
Just wears you out,
even if they help me out, I feel worse afterwards than when I did before.
I hate that for you. It wears you out. It makes you feel bad.
Well,
To fleece them out of money.
it makes me feel like a piece of crap.
He don't need a martyr. He needs a father. That was my takeaway. I will feel responsible. It's easier to help. Don't want him to live with us, so I'll pay for the stuff in his own place.
None of this stuff has come up with me. You know, a lot of the issues you're talking about, and I see them with other people, but they haven't come up with me in general. And I don't know, a lot of people go, oh, well, you're such a good father. I don't know if I'm such a good father. I have really good kids. Because I don't know if I had, because kids come in all different shapes, sizes, and mental states, right? And it's not always a reflection even of the parents, So I've been really lucky. But I think what I do is I talk to them like they're adults. I talk to them like they're real people. And, when they were little, I'd take them movies I wanted to go see. Not movies that Sophia would cry and stuff. I'd be like, it's good. So then they weren't like, Dad, it changed the thing. Instead, it was like, Dad, I want to see this. And no, you can't see this. It was like, Dad, I don't want to see this. So it changed the dynamic a little bit. Just talking to them and telling them they're real and feeling stuff but also, like I said, like you have to let them know you're the boss. But you don't have to be showing that to them all the time. You just, I think they respect me and they expected me to be there and I was there. That's the other thing is being there. If you're not there, the kids will go do other things and see other things. Like my ex-wife, she wasn't there as much. So when we split, who do you want to stay with? They want to stay with me because I'm there. I'm there for them. And that's really important. And I think that's all you can do as a parent. And yeah, sometimes paying too much for them and not, they're not going to get off their own asses and stuff. But if I can help, I love to help them, and that's what it's for.
I think when Dr. Phil was titling this episode, "Why Enabling a Child is More About You Than Them," I kind of feel like it is more about us than them, because all of the different scenarios that even was being brought up, the parent was more concerned about how they felt than actually what they were giving to their child to help them or fix them. And I think what happens just from observing an adult parent enable their adult child, that adult child never learns a level of independence because they always know that they have that parent to go to, but then you end up depleting that parent that's being so available to you. I know a mom who, and again, this hasn't affected us yet, and possibly won't, but I know a mom who took her children out of the projects, put them in this hoity-toity, fancy development, bought the property, you know what I mean, and eventually lost it because of her investments in her 40-something-year-old sons. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like her college kids, you know what I'm saying? It was, you know, her adult children or adult child or whatever have you, and end up being in a position where everything she kind of built up, she lost, and now is living, you know, so less than what all the years of professionally, everything that took to get to that point. So something that stuck out in my mind was the drinking, you know, and picking your adult children up from bars or whatever have you. And, you know, so when I bring the scenario of that parent to my situation, you know, because my son is 28, and we live in 2 different states. But I've had a couple of calls where now I've gotten calls from the girlfriend, you know, because of my son, you know, drinking too much or drinking and driving or coming home drunk or intoxicated and them having to call the police. And literally to a point where it felt so bad that I had to go down south. You know what I'm saying? What can I do? I can't do anything down south or up here. I'm somebody's mother. I'm not them. But I felt like I had to go down south, put hands on my son, pray over my son, be with my son, talk to him, because I felt like something was disconnecting from us being so apart that I was losing or he was losing. But again, you see how I said that I felt like I was disconnected. So I had to go. Now, he did ask for me to come, but did I go down more for myself? Or should I have just let him, in your opinion, because obviously it happened already and neither one of us are doctors, but should I have just say, well, you know what, he's 28, that's trial and error, life goes on, he'll figure it out?
I think it's good to go down. I think it's good for you too, you know what I mean? You wanted to be there and you're making a connection, and I think that's important. I think like we all want, even when we're older, like my parents are dead, and I didn't get along with them, but I still would like to have someone who, you know, I could connect to or something like that when things get a little crazy, you know? So I don't think it's, but every situation is different. You know, kids are different, parents are different. And I think that the thing is just being there and talking and, you know, being honest and trying to keep, I think if you and your kids have honest communication, things work. And when you start trying to, you know, teach them a lesson or something, that doesn't work. You know?
Really? You don't think that works?
Yeah. Well, it was like once my son asked if my daughter was smoking crack, what would I do? I'd say I'd tell her that I think that's a really bad choice. It's a really poor thing to do. He says, well, no, you do more than that. I'd say, you can't chain her up. You know, you can't. You know, I've seen people with drug problems, and you know, they're gonna kick it when they kick it. The best thing you could do is be there, and you know, and you don't have to rub it in to show how much it hurts you, but so they could see it though.
Why not rub it in and show how much it hurts you?
Because when you rub it in, then they get their back up, and then they feel more. I think a lot of messages. I always think, just in life, if you could put 2 and 2 together about me, you got a better message than if I'm spelling it out for you.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I do.
So, and if you have good communication and somebody goes, wow, you know, like, I'm noticing this, that I'm hurting my dad, that's much more powerful than me screaming, you're hurting me. You know? So you try to, and when people think they're making the conclusion in their head, you know, and they are making, it's more powerful than when somebody's saying, you got to do this, that, and the other thing, you know? I don't want somebody to stop smoking crack because my dad said so, you know? I want somebody, you know, but if he says,
I'm ready to stop smoking crack.
Yeah, but like if he says like, hey, and my dad is really taking this hard, you know? But you don't have to, but when you start going, oh, you know, and don't get righteous with anybody, you know, it just doesn't, it never works.
Say it again.
Don't get righteous with anybody. You know.
On that note, let's take a break.
How do you know when you've made the right decision? It's the feeling you get in your gut. The one that tells you what's right or wrong. It's the one that says, sure, I can have a drink. Or the feeling that says, okay, I've been drinking. Now what? It's the voice inside you that says, I'm buzzed. Better leave the car when it's time to go. Plan ahead. Catch a sober ride. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Have you taken any notes? Has any of this been helpful? Has anything felt like, I might have done that, or I've done this differently, or I don't agree? Well, we wanted to give you guys some steps, because you know I'm all about providing solutions and tools, not just having the conversation. So I wanted to talk about some steps that we might not be yet affected by, but that is going to come up in our future. But before I go to that last video and give the folks some steps, do you think parenting as a father is different than parenting as a mom?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, in what ways?
Moms have a lot of role models, a lot of like things people expect mothers to be. Dads who are present with their kids, it's rarer, and it's not as defined, you know. So I think that's a big difference. Is people expect moms to be one way, people expect dads to be the other way, and I never, because you know my mother was blind and deaf, so my dad was much more present in my upbringing. So for me, that wasn't hard to take that role. But it's not something that comes naturally to many of my friends, or I don't know a lot of people who do the dad thing as much as I do. And I wasn't intending to do the dad thing, but when my son was disabled, I realized I had to be present so that it turned into a happy story and not a sad story. And that's been the whole kind of work with that. So I got back into being a very present dad that I didn't think I was going to be. But you know, there's all sorts of mothers and there are all sorts of fathers. So it's I don't like to generalize about anything, but the mothers have a lot more. People blame mothers for, like if you go to a psychologist, you always come out and you blame your mother, and the mothers got a tough thing because there's so much expectation on them, and you know they're just people too, you know, and but again, there are good mothers, there are bad mothers, there are good fathers, there are bad fathers. I think that the only thing you could do is just be a person for your kids.
Be a person for your kids.
Yeah.
Do you think you're a good father?
Everyone tells me, you know, what I don't have a lot of the stuff you see on these shows like Dr. Phil, this doesn't come up in my life, so it's not really, so for me I think it's doing good. But I don't know if I'm a good father, I just have really good kids. I don't, you know, because I see other parents and I'm not gonna go, you should do this, that, the other, because I don't have a prescription package, a secret to success. Because if you don't know how to talk to your kids like they're people and be there and stuff like that, I can't teach you that. And I don't know what it's like to have a kid with some kind of mental illness or some kind of problem that hasn't come up, thankfully, in my thing. And the other thing is I also don't know how much, because my wife is very different than me, my ex-wife. She was religious, she's strict, she wasn't present, but she was also really good. She kept him clean. She kept him dressed. She fulfilled a lot of those roles, and that might have the mixture between me, my technique, and her thing. That might have been what the secret is. I don't know what the secret sauce is.
But I met you in 2016,
Yeah.
and you had Nick and Sophia kind of both, not full time, but full time. Like, it was like the end of Sophia was leaving her mom.
What happened was our relationship fell apart at a certain point, but because we had a disabled child, we had to stay together to take care of him. So that was a really negative scene, because two people, when your parents don't get along, that's not cool. Yeah, I had my parents not getting along. I just wanted them to get divorced, you know what I mean? But we also, you know, we made it work, and you know, but I'm not saying it was easy. And you know, the price of that was also the marriage, you know.
I always feel like I hear so many parents, even closest friends of mine, that stay together for the children's sake. But I feel like sometimes that does more harm because the kids can see the strife in the family.
You don't want to be in a house where your parents are fighting. It gets your back. It's all sorts of stress, all sorts of problems later in life.
So it's not actually helping them.
No, I don't think so.
I don't
think so. But this was a question of like just dressing and help him in the bathroom, and so we didn't have any services at that point. We didn't have any outside helpers in, so it was really the two of us,
Okay.
and that was intense. But it was also rewarding. You know, that's something I think a lot of people miss, is that it's rewarding to really help somebody. You know, people talk about all this stuff like service, you know, doing service. I don't have that romantic notion at all. I'm not going out to some soup kitchen. I'm not doing that stuff. But when people said, you don't do any service, I'm like, yes, I do. I wipe his ass. You know?
Literally.
Yeah. You know, so that's service, you know what I mean? But for me, it's a more, I'll do the service, because, you know, my wife was like, love everybody. I'm like, no, that's exhausting. You can't love everybody. That just, you just fail. You know, I reserve my love and my service for the people who are close to me and the people who return it. I'm not here to conquer the world, save the world, or anything like that. Just the ones I love and who need and want my caring. You know.
I like that, Michael
Well,
Astor.
good.
So, ground rules for living with adult children. This is from a mom named Sally Harris, moms of estranged children. So let's see what their ground rules had to share with us, and we see whether or not we agree with any of them.
You know, starting out when you're 18 or maybe you're 25 and just trying to launch. It can be scary. Life is scary, right? But they need to be able, they're going to need to struggle a little bit on their own, right? We all struggled. I don't know. If you didn't struggle, you let me know. That's just something that happens to all of us in different areas of our life. So really letting yourself know that, you know what, I need to stop enabling and I need to let them struggle a little bit. And they need to maybe not have all the things that you're giving them, because their needs are being met. And the flip side is that it's scary out there and maybe they don't want to admit that. Number 3 is if your child is dealing with anxiety and depression. Someone said, I just can't put him out on the street. He's not capable of living alone. And that's a really scary place to be in. But, you know, there is something to be said for, you know, maybe they can't live independently. Maybe they are going to need some additional help. But you can still hold them accountable while they're living in your home. You can hold them accountable for those, whatever ground rules, house rules that you and your spouse come up with. I find that it's even more difficult sometimes for single moms because they're being taken advantage of many times. But then again, and at the same token, when you're married and your spouse and you are not on the same page, that can be super difficult as well. But just know that you don't have to put up with abusive behavior just because your child has anxiety, depression, or anything else. They still don't have the right to abuse you, right?
Did you struggle? Should we let them struggle? How did you feel once you were able to know that you were able to let Nick go to school? Now, Nick did have an aide, and then his school was super, super supportive of him when he first went there.
Well, the school wasn't, but we were able to get the support in.
Well, okay, not the school, but I remember a conversation where there was support at the school on his floor. His RA, no?
No, we had to put someone in.
Okay.
That's a whole story.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
so my question was, because it's a whole story and it was so much, when you finally did get everything, how did you feel letting Nick be alone?
Yeah.
Even though he wasn't alone, but not with you.
Well, you know, there's a story that I always tell, which is that when Nick was little, and and this could happen with a typically developing kid too, I just wanted one morning where I could sleep it late, you know, and I went on assignment to some place and I didn't have to register until 12 o'clock, so I had the whole morning to myself in a hotel, and I said, this is so great, I'm gonna get to sleep late. 7 o'clock, I heard, Dad! I woke up and I couldn't get back to sleep. So, that's what I was doing, that's what you're doing. I thought when Nick went away to school that I'd be up there at least every 2 weeks. I never got a call, like, you gotta come up here, he's got no coverage, you have to help him. That never happened. Wow. and it worked even better than I could have imagined. But again, it's like now, and I never believed he would move out, and he moved out.
Yeah.
But now it's like I got to book an appointment with him to see him. You know.
We were saying
yeah,
that.
Yeah, and that's weird because it was always like he was always there, and you know, I'll call him and go, I can't talk right now, and you know, it's like, can I?
Literally.
Yeah, and I'm like, can I have dinner with you this weekend? Well, this week's a little. You know, so it's funny, you know, it's changed a lot.
When we was talking about it, I was telling you that I have to schedule dates with Eric.
Yeah.
Like, so we have a once a month or try to at his house, and then a once a month try to at my house. And it was so funny because my father recently came into my life, and he stayed at my house a few times, and he was like, so your son never comes home? He was like, your son is just really busy. And I was like, yeah, you know, my son has a full-time job, a relationship, friends. Yeah, he's busy. So I do literally have to schedule my time. And it's the same thing even with Rose still being a student. I have to schedule when I'm going to see her. But did you have do you like, now that Nick is independent on his own, are you that helicopter parent, or do you kind of, you know, let him be because he kind of doesn't even give you a choice?
Well, like, I never liked the term helicopter parent, and the woman on the video was saying launch. These are all therapy terms. I don't buy that stuff, because you know, what you do is you buy therapy, you pay money for it, and nobody who's gotten therapy is ever getting out of it. Nobody ever resolves anything.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is, if Nick is okay, he's okay. I'll check in with him once in a while,
Right.
you know, and stuff. But I'm not in his business if he doesn't want me to be in his business. And you know, if I miss him, I say, hey, I miss you. You know, let's hang.
Oh, wow.
You know.
What happens, or what happened to you, or what happens now when you're not always on the same page as the other parent?
Well, you know, that was a funny thing. Because we did have, my ex-wife and I had a very different upbringing, upbringing, parenting style, everything, you know what I mean? And she said to me, and when we have kids, don't ever contradict me. I'm going to tell them what I said. Oh no, don't ever contradict me. And to her credit, she didn't. She let me do it the way I wanted to do it, and it was very foreign to her, because she grew up on a farm in Brazil. She really didn't have all this New York, modern day stuff that, and I'm not your run-of-the-mill person either. So
music,
so
Lower East Side, breaking, right?
So she was cool in that respect, that she didn't interfere with it and stuff. But you know, but I would have appreciated if she could have been a little bit more there on the way I was doing it, but that's too much to expect from somebody. You can't expect someone to get your right. So I'm happy that, you know, but again, I think if she was more present, she could have imposed more of her values on them too, which, you know.
So you touched a really good point, you know what I'm saying, as far as like being present and having something to say, but you can't have anything to say unless you're, you know, present, or you can, but then you can get the smart ass child saying, you know, with the comeback, well, you know, you how can you say anything rather than just kind of, you know, building this relationship with them? That's not what you said. I forgot what you said as I was going, and then ended up saying this right here. So excuse me that
No,
I
but what I'm
digress.
saying is, you got to live. It's not what you say; it's what you do.
Thank you.
It's what you do.
Yes.
If you're there and you're there for them, and you're talking to them, and you're, you know, once my daughter, she broke up with her first boyfriend, and she came in, and I was by myself in bed, and she said, Dad, I broke up with David, and she was crying, and I said, come into bed, and you know, and I said, you know, and we hugged and we talked and everything, and I didn't think this was special. I mean, I didn't think it. No, I mean, not. I think it was special, but
you didn't.
But she came back to me a couple of days later. She said, I told my friends, and none of their dads would have done that.
Yeah.
But I don't.
But like you said, it's not even a mom or dad type of thing, because I've had my children say, and all of my children's friends, parents are present. Everybody has present parents. But my middle son said none of them have the kind of relationship, communication-wise, that they have, that he has with me, that he does not see with his peers. So I do think there is a level of communication. Even their dad complains to me, like they don't talk to me like they talk to you, you know. But I also don't make it, I guess, maybe like a chore. We just naturally reach out when we miss each other. So it's not, because sometimes I wish I was that parent that talked to them every day. Like I see these parents who's on the phone all day, and I'm like, am I doing something wrong? And is something wrong that I don't call them every day? But I don't have anything to say every single day, all day long to be talking. So I like where we're at. And I like where we're at because they seem to like where we're at.
Yeah, I think it has to be natural. What happens? Some people, I know people who are on the phone with their kids all the time, and they talk and they just say just inane things like, "Oh yeah, how you doing? Yeah, no, my foot's kind of hurting a little bit." You know, that kind of stuff. I don't really. I mean, sometimes we kick it like that, but generally, you know, when we talk, it's about stuff that we're interested in or what's going on, and I tell them about my relationships. They tell me. My daughter was a little. She went one day, she said, "Dad, I have something to tell you." I'm like, and she was all, you know, nervous. And she said, "I have a boyfriend." I was like, "Oh, good."
What age did you start letting?
I didn't let. No.
I had to take that back.
Like last night, my daughter said she was going to see a friend. She didn't tell me she was. This morning she wasn't home. I assumed she was with a friend. I wasn't freaking out. You know what I mean? It's just like, she's an adult, you know, and
she's 21.
And if something bad happened, I'd find out one way or the other. You know what I mean? You can't control everything. You can't. You know, you just got to be there for them and let them know you love them, and then I think it works. You know.
That's a great way to end this segment. I thank you for taking the time all the way from Brooklyn coming to the. Are you still in Brooklyn?
I'm still in
okay.
Brooklyn. Yeah.
You know, coming all the way to the Bronx to have this conversation with me and be vulnerable to share a little bit about personal stuff that you as a father are having conversations with your children. I'm hoping that they're probably not going to watch our show, but I'm hoping that they'll be okay with also with what that you shared about them. Like, how are they when it comes to, you know, their father being in media or their father in the struggle of broadcast or journalism? Like, yeah,
they're used to. They know that I'm not your run-of-the-mill guy. And I think they're kind of proud of it. It's interesting to see that their friends are kind of interested in me. Like, what's up with that guy, you know? And they're kind of like, it's like, but you know, they have their thing. But no, it's been good.
It's been good. So again, you're not a doctor. We're not doctors. We're not professionals, but we are parents. So, as you say, you're not here to save and love the world. But if I was to ask some niceties of Michael Astor to share with the world of what has helped you in one or two sentences as a father, be present and still be. Wait, before I ask you that question, well, it's probably evident. I was gonna say, do you like your kids? But I think you do.
Oh, I love them.
Yeah. No, I didn't ask you if you love them.
Oh, well, yeah, I like them too.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think they like you.
I think so.
Okay.
You got to ask them.
Yeah. But I think they do. I think they do like you. It's so funny because you and Nick was in the audience for my first IMU, so I know that they like you because you know. So what? Do you have any? Because again, we're not experts, we're not doctors, but we are parents. Is there anything you would like to share to our fellow parents in this parenting space that we're all in right now? And maybe some tidbits you want to give to them or suggestions on what has helped and navigate you?
I think it's something for life that you can't impose yourself. You can't make other people do what you want them to do. So you have to figure out what you have to do to make people do the things you need them to do for you.
Wait. Say it again?
I can't make you do what I want you to do. But I can do things that may make you do the things because you see, it's all you.
Yeah.
So instead of trying to be like, you have to do this, figure out what it is that gets them, oh, maybe I want to do this, you know. And it's hard, it's not easy. But when you come at somebody frontally, some people will be pushed over, and it will submit to whatever you push on them. But you don't want kids who are being submitting. You want kids who are doing it because they understand it's working and it works for you and it keeps the relationship going. And I don't have the key to this all the time, but it's what I try. It's I can change me, I can't change you. So what can I change about me that gets you to start being more like I need you to be? And one of the big ways is having people understand how you feel, and if they love you and they don't want to hurt you, then they're going, okay, I have to take this into consideration too.
Do you have a support as a father? Like, you know how mothers, you know, we can call up other mothers and we'd be on the phone. I don't know if that's a woman thing or a mother's thing, but as a dad, does dad have support? Are there other dads that you can call? And
I talk to some of my friends about this stuff, but I don't, it's not like, more like I try to help them chill out than, you know, because a lot of parents come with a lot of expectations and they're trying, and I just try to say, let's pull it back and let the kid be the kid, let the kid prosper. Like a friend of mine, he didn't want his daughter to go away to go to school. He wanted her to stay in and live in the house. And I'm usually not an activist, right? But I can be, but I went and I said, look, you gotta let her go. You gotta, if she can get into a good school and she wants to live away, I think that's a really important experience. And he was all upset about how much it was gonna cost, and then the mother was upset about losing her. And I kind of worked behind the scenes. I like set it up so she went to visit my daughter at school to see what it, you know, and I told her, I said, I'm working on it for you.
And
she's going away to Ohio like later this month.
Good
Yeah,
job, Dad.
yeah.
So you infiltrated some influence by being creative.
Yeah. But again, you can't. It's not. You can't tell.
Impose your.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Just show what it looks like and see and let them see the possibilities.
Right. Exactly.
Amen.
Yeah.
So on that note, let them explore and see the possibilities. That mother talked about let them struggle, because they're going to struggle. And I think that that's probably one of the biggest challenges for us as parents, how to let go, how to just be, how to just not make it about ourselves. So this is our second segment in our parenting series. And I thank you so much for joining us in this conversation. But I need you to be a little bit more effective by giving us some experiences, some scenarios, some tools that you have had or going through or have come in contact with, and share it in our Facebook group page, because this is a community effort of all of us trying to help and assist each other navigate through these different chapters, these different stages that we're all going through. Because hey, this is the next chapter where we discuss shades of gray, because everything isn't so black and white. You know, we have to kind of delve into things and use each other as a way to assist each other, since we don't have the blueprint, since we don't have all of the answers. All we really do have is the references of each other, you know, especially when they are good reference points. I've gotten a chance, like I said, to watch Michael over the last few years. He's gotten a chance to watch me over the last few years. And I think that we've both, you know, probably not consciously, but subconsciously looked at each other and took things from each other to help us in dealing with our own children of the same age. So we invite you to do the same. Please follow, like, and share. You know I need you to do that. Follow, like, and share. And come back next week when I talk about the next stage of this parenting space that we're in right now. Once again, this is the next chapter where we discuss shades of gray. I'm your girl, Minister Cat, aka KittyRose, and I'll see you all next week. The revolution has begun. Mwah! See you guys. Thank you, Michael.
So I take the liberty to take them on a journey lyrically, through hallways and alleys, dark days I carry, sharp pains and bellies. All days be heavy when you're programmed to survive. Legendary ciphers get the MCs in the jars. The city never sleeps, slept from 1 to 5 when COVID hit the block.